Can I share the fact sheet that I prepared?
Yes, I just gave you co-host access, so you should be able to.
Okay. Let's see, is that big enough for you? Can you see that? So I think I'll just go through with it, and please feel free to ask me any questions as I'm going through it, or you can wait until the end. However you want to do it, that's fine. So the first thing is, what is CUNY SLU? CUNY SLU is the newest school in the CUNY system. I think we're the 25th school in the system. The full name is the City University of New York School of Labor and Urban Studies. The school used to be the Murphy Institute. So it's been around for quite a long time. It's just changed the name and become a school to have a greater role within CUNY, and now offers a number of degree programs, master's degrees, undergraduate degrees, certificate programs, and also this college prep program. How much does it cost to attend the program? These free college prep classes are offered through collaboration between the Consortium for Worker Education, CWE, and the CUNY School of Labor and Urban Studies. So it's both organizations contribute. The consortium pays the teacher salaries, pay my salary. CUNY provides the classrooms, the administrative support, and the extra activities. Who's eligible to attend these classes? You have to be 21 or over, or turning 21 during the semester. You have to live in New York City. You have to have a high school diploma or the equivalent, and you should be interested in attending college. That's not an actual hard and fast one, but the classes don't work out so well for people who are casually taking a class. You need to have some sort of motivation, because the classes require something of you, and at a certain point, you have to connect to that motivation in order to do math problems, to write an essay. And that's usually associated with someone who intends to go to college. But that's the purpose of these classes, to help prepare people who want to go to college. Who takes these classes? We have a very nice mix of students. Some of the students have never been to college. Some of them have had some college, and for one reason or another, they've been derailed. And now they decided they want to go back to college. They want to do something else. And some of the students have college degrees and even master's degrees from other countries, are thinking about studying here and want to get used to the system here, improve their English, refresh their math skills before enrolling in college classes in the US. The students who are in these classes, they're New Yorkers by birth and New Yorkers by choice from all over the world. And the age range goes from 21 to 60s. It's not a cutoff, it's just that we don't get many people past 60, but we do get people occasionally in their 60s as well. Anyone who wants to do the work that will help prepare them to go to college. What do we offer? We have two different classes. We have a reading writing class, and we have an algebra class. The reading writing class, we have two sections. We have an evening section. Generally that meets Mondays and Wednesdays from 6 to 8 p.m. And we have a day section that meets Tuesdays and Thursdays from 12:30 to 2:30 p.m. The math class, we have just one math class, and that meets on Tuesdays and Thursday evenings from 6 to 8 p.m. Where do the classes take place? Well, for the past 3 semesters since the pandemic, these classes have been online and will likely be online for the spring semester, because it seems to suit very well the people who want to take these classes, who are taking them while working and having families. However, it's not entirely sure if that's the case, and it's not a decision that I make, and we won't know that until we have the open house sessions in January. If we do meet in person, we would meet at CUNY SLU, which is at 25 West 43rd Street. That's 43rd between 5th and 6th. Just about every train in the city passes somewhere close by, so it's pretty convenient to get to for most people around the city. How long are the classes? Each class meets twice a week for 2 hours. And these are semester-long classes that mirror the CUNY spring semester schedule. And I want to emphasize that they're semester-long classes because a lot of people can take a class for 2 or 3 weeks or 4 weeks or even 6 weeks. Taking a class for a full semester, people start to realize what's required when you want to go to college. It's actually, I always tell students, it's long and it's short, or short and long. I mean, short in the time we have to accomplish a lot, and long in no matter how enthusiastic you are when you start, it's quite something to show up for 3.5 months, twice a week, prime time, family time, have assignments from the time you start until the time you end. This is really a good place to figure out if you're actually ready to attend college. How do you apply for these classes? If you're interested in applying, you have to attend one of the 12 open house assessment sessions that we're going to hold in January. And I will send this to you, and included in here is the link to registrar, which is also in the flyer, the same link. Send people to Eventbrite where they can pick one of the sessions. Why are there assessment tests for these classes? 2 reasons. The first reason is it's a requirement of the funders, CWE. They require pre and post class assessment testing. They want to know that something happens for the money that they provide. The second reason is we need to make sure it's a good fit for the people who want to take them. We're not looking to exclude people. We want to include people, but it makes no sense to take a class if you're completely unprepared. So the example I give is if you want to take the algebra class, you need to have some basic math skills, because if you don't have basic math, the algebra is not going to make sense. Or while we're doing some aspect of algebra, you'll be stuck on some aspect of basic math. In the algebra class, we do briefly cover some basic math because it's necessary, but we don't spend a lot of time on it because we have a short time to cover a lot of algebra. The preparation for these tests, you don't really need to do anything specifically. Someone who's interested in taking these classes, if you haven't been doing any reading more than, I don't know, the gossip columns or the sports pages of the newspaper, you might want to pick up a book that challenges you a little bit to get used to what it is to read something that's a little more challenging. You might want to start writing in a journal to get used to the idea of expressing your thoughts in writing. Unless your job requires it, most people don't write anymore. I used to write letters. I don't write letters anymore. And that was a fairly common thing. People had practice writing. So unless your job requires it, most people are not used to writing, and that takes a little bit of getting used to. For the math class, if people wanted to prepare for it, and it's been a long time since they've studied math, they might find it useful to reacquaint themselves with some basic math. Just start thinking with numbers again. In particular, going online and looking at some videos or worksheets on working with fractions, or picking up a book from Barnes and Nobles on fractions or sign numbers. These are 2 things, fractions and sign numbers, that seem to trip up adults who take these regularly. I've been doing this for teaching these classes, running this program, teaching classes for a decade, and fractions and sign numbers always trip people up. And so you can get everything else right when we're doing some other aspect of algebra and then mess things up because of fractions or sign numbers, and that will mean the wrong answer. So just because it's sometimes a long time since people have been used to thinking about math or thinking about writing or thinking about reading, it might be good to do a little bit, but there's nothing specific that anyone needs to do to prepare for the assessment tests. And as I said, we're looking to include people, not exclude people. But for instance, for reading, the reading passages on the assessment are much easier than what we do in the classes. And if a person can't answer any of those questions, then the readings won't make any sense to them, and this wouldn't be a good class for them. While we have many people for whom English is a second language, it's not an ESL class. So you have to have a certain level in order to be able to take these classes. They are college prep classes. What are the classes like? Each class has a syllabus. There are with assignments and tests that start at the beginning of the semester and continue all the way until the end of the 3.5-month period. In the reading and writing class, there are two separate grades, a grade for reading and a grade for writing. The readings cover a broad variety of subjects, a broad variety of medium. It could be a short story, essays, plays, screenplays, interviews, speeches. We've read graphic novels. We have excerpts from novels. We have magazine and newspaper articles, opinion pieces, and excerpts from nonfiction writing on various subjects that could include economics, psychology, sociology, urban studies. The reason for that is reading is not just being able to decipher words. You have to have some knowledge. So part of the idea of the classes is to give people some exposure to lots of different things. The writing aspect of the class, the goal is to get people to be able to express themselves, their thoughts clearly in an organized fashion. And the goal is a persuasive essay. For the writing, we'll have shorter writing assignments, some that you get credit just for submitting, some shorter ones that will be graded. And then the bulk of the grade comes from writing essay length assignments. The math course is, of course, on elementary algebra. We use a college textbook for that and cover what used to be the material that CUNY required when they had admissions testing. As you probably know, CUNY no longer has admissions testing. They do still have assessment testing for math to place people, and taking this class and doing well will put people in a position to be placed in a good math class rather than just, say, a remedial math class. How difficult are the classes? This is an interesting one for me because while the classes are not as demanding as most college classes, most of the students taking them are going to find these classes are as much challenge as they can handle at the time that they're taking them. Being a student is difficult. It's hard to keep your behind in the chair and focus for an extended period of time. It's even more difficult when you're an adult and you have family obligations, work, and other responsibilities, particularly if it's been a long time since you've been in school. So more than the material, the challenge for most people in figuring out how to fit being a student into their schedules. And these classes are really a great place to work that out. And it is a challenge for most people. People sometimes ask me, can I take both classes? And I always try to discourage them because people underestimate how much work it is and how much is required when you're taking a class and have a job and have a family. If people insist enough, I let them try, but it usually doesn't work out too well. People have to have a lot of motivation and time, and they still finish quite tired if they wind up taking two because the classes require a lot of effort. But this is the place to work that out. I always tell people in the classes, they're very passable classes. Nobody passes without working. And this is where becoming a student comes in. We meet twice a week for 2 hours. That's a lot of time. But if you want to be successful in these classes, you have to be willing to put in 4 to 6 hours in addition to the class time. People want to successfully take these classes will have to figure out how to manage their time and what it means to be a student over a semester's length of time. And once people do that, then they'll be able to succeed in these classes and basically any class they take. I'll tell you a quick story about a student who took the math class, took it and failed. And she wanted to be a teacher, so she came back and took it again, and she was really upset, and she just looked angry for a good part of the semester. At some point in the semester, she joined a study group, and it happened to be in the library, and I was present in the library. This is obviously pre-pandemic. And I said, you know, and it's one of those things, the study groups are often not the students who need it the most, but the best students. And she joined these students. And I joked with her, now that you're, with the best students in the class, you're gonna have to do well on the test. And she did well on the test. And she continued to do well, and she became one of the better students in the class. We had another tutor with the program at the time, and he gave her some advice. He said, listen, when you go to college, just take math in the world. You're not going to be a math major. You don't need to take a hard math class. She took statistics and got an A. And the reason was because she figured out how do you be a student. And she actually came back unasked to visit the class and tell them she did the things that we were saying in the class. Do the assignments, study for tests. She said she stopped hanging out. She went to tutoring. She, joined a study group. So those are the things that people have to do. And this is a place where you're going to get help. It's not going to be quite as challenging, but it will be challenging. And it's a good place to figure out that. If you can figure that out, then, just about any class, as long as your brain works, you'll be able to take just about any class and succeed. Are there support services? We offer free tutoring, one-on-one tutoring for people in the program. You can get help on a writing assignment, on understanding a reading, on the math class. We have a number of hours throughout the week, and you can schedule a half an hour or an hour at a time. People often want to know if there are credit for these classes. These are non-credit classes. They don't cost anything. They're non-credit. However, we still have a few students who started CUNY when there was testing, and if they didn't pass, they had to take a class and pass. For those students, taking and passing this class will fulfill their remedial CUNY requirement, and then they'll be able to take the credit-bearing classes at their college. For other students who are applying for the first time, they can include this letter in their application process. We also have a college advisor associated with the program. That college advisor visits each of the classes, makes a presentation, and then invites the students to have one-on-one sessions to help them figure out what college they might want to go to, help them get their credits transferred if they have credits to transfer, and help them basically with the college application process and with applying for financial aid, or even before that, to help them figure out what direction they might want to take. So there, the tutoring and the college advisement on a personal level are something that a lot of courses don't offer, but we do. And I think I'll stop there and ask you if you have any questions about the program. If there's anything I can tell you that I haven't covered. Is there something you'd like to know about the program?
Yeah, sure. I have a question or two. Thank you so much for sharing. I'm a middle school principal, so I know that
Oh, great.
if you don't get those algebra skills early on, I can understand why that would be really helpful for folks going into college. I'm curious where does because it sounds like it's a college prep math course, a college prep ELA course. Where does the labor and urban studies come into it? Or is it just is the purpose to get more like people, not kids, but get more adults ready for college? Is that?
Well, the dean of the school sometimes laments that not enough people go from this program into that program, but the CUNY School of Labor and Urban Studies only recently added an undergraduate. I think I'm not sure of the origins, but the funding for these courses comes from the Consortium for Worker Education. I don't know if you're familiar with it. It was a group of unions that got together to provide education for their members. The funding for these courses is federal, state, and city government for adult education. CWE funnels it, so it's not limited to union members, it's to anyone. And somehow it became affiliated with the Murphy Institute. The Murphy Institute was started with a similar goal of educating workers. So I guess that was the early connection, but there's no direct connection with it. And people who attend this program don't have to be interested in going into urban studies or labor studies. It's just now a program that's offered here. But there are a number of people from the program. There are certificate courses for health and hospital workers, for paraprofessionals. Right now, we have a number of paraprofessionals in our classes who are in a program called Leap to Teacher, and sometimes they need to improve their skills in order to accomplish that. So there's no direct connection other than both organizations started programs for worker education.
Okay, got it. Thank you. And then one more question, you may have said this, but do they get any kind of college credit for the courses, or is it just
No,
preparing
they're not
them
even-
academically?
It prepares people. People are not registered as CUNY students for taking these classes. Some might be because they're in the CUNY system, but they're not paying, they're not registered. However, and this is a big however, for a very long time, CUNY had admissions testing, and people would sometimes get caught in the kind of hell of, I had a student taking every single math class at BMCC and couldn't pass the English. So in order to complete it, you have to do that. So some people have used up their chances at the colleges, and they have to fulfill a remedial requirement. And so they can do it here. Now there are sometimes classes offered, but this is also free, so it sometimes works out for people. So people who are in that position, if they take and pass the class with a 70, that fulfills their CUNY remedial requirement. So
Got
if
it.
they were lacking the math and had to pass the math to be able to continue to take a credit-bearing math class, passing this allows them to do that.
Okay, but otherwise they wouldn't get any kind of credit.
No, but people who are doing it, and I mentioned we have people who have college degrees and even master's degrees who take the classes, and it's because they want to get ready for college classes. They want to improve their reading comprehension. They want to improve their writing. Even sometimes they want to brush up on their math skills.
Thank
So
you.
yeah, I mean, it's the benefit that you get, so that you can feel like you're ready. A lot of the people taking these classes, it's been a long time since they've been in school, and it's kind of a shock to the system. It's very difficult to squeeze your adult body into a student body. You're used to having a job, having a family, knowing things, being in charge, and all of a sudden you're in a place where you have to say, I don't know something, or where things don't necessarily come easily, and you have to struggle with it. And I don't know, just, if you can think about yourself, I don't know, do you read as much now as you did 20 years ago? I mean, some people might answer that yes. For most people, I think the answer is probably no. So you want to go to college, there's going to be a lot of reading involved. There are distribution classes, and you have to be able to take and figure out things. And so it's an adjustment. And before committing to college and paying the money, people sometimes want to feel like they're prepared for it. And if you take and pass these classes and have figured out what it means to be a student, then you'll be prepared.
Well, thank you so much. I have a question, a couple questions. This is Naomi Baptiste. How are you?
Good, Naomi. How are you?
Committee chair.
Excellent. Yeah, the chair. Thank you. I love your presentation. I thank you so much for it. One of my questions is, would this be a good course for parents who decided to start their education because their children are in education?
Would this be a good course for parents who decide to start their education because
their children are in education? So, for example, I'm a preschool mom, pre-K mom, and I'm not doing anything. I'm not working, so maybe I should take some college courses to understand how the education system is run for my, like that.
a great question? Yeah, that's a great question. So what you're touching on is kind of the heart of success for this program. For someone who wants to be successful, you have to have some motivation. And that's a very powerful motivation. I had a woman in the class once who wanted to take it because she wanted to be able to help her kids who were in a school, and their English was starting to be better than hers. And she wanted to be able to help them. So you have to have powerful motivation, because no matter how enthusiastic you are when you start, 3.5 months is a long time, and you have to have something that carries you through. And the motivation of wanting to help your kids is a powerful one. I had a woman, I told you, I always discourage people when they want to take both. I don't say no, but I try to discourage them. And this woman insisted, no, she was going to take both. And her math scores were not great. So I thought, okay, but if you're having a hard time, you let me know and drop one of them at least. So she took it, she passed both, did very well. What was her motivation? She had to take the class so she could take the college class, so she could become a nurse, so she could get a job to bring her children to this country from another country. She had a powerful motivation that when you're tired, at this point in the term where we have a week and a half left, 2 weeks left, people are tired. They've been coming to, but we still have work to do. So you have to have some motivation. So if someone says, I'm doing it because I want to be able to help my kids because I'm embarrassed that I don't know how to do any math, that's a great motivation. But we also have people who are taking the classes and their children are entering college and now they're freer and now they want to get to what they hadn't gotten to before. So we really have a big mix of students. And the mix is actually helpful because, I said that we have people who have degrees but are not from here. And we have other people who've never been to college but are from here. So they'll catch the idioms. And the people who, have degrees, they already know how to study. So that part's a little bit easier for them to figure out, although they do have to get used to it again. And so it's a kind of balance that works for both. And the people who know how to study and show the efforts of making the efforts, get the other people to make efforts, and the people who have the idioms, it helps the people who don't have it. So it's quite a nice mix. But yeah,
Well,
that's a good motive. You have to have some motivation other than I'm just interested. Like people who do it as a look-see, they usually don't last because it's work. It is work. It's a class.
No, I thank you. I mean, because I'm I have children in junior high and public school. So for me, I have 2 degrees, but I graduated in 2006. So for me to have a motivation to go back to school and learn what I need to improve to get my master's, yeah, it's a lot with 2 children in school.
Sometimes people feel like making the jump, even if you have a degree, making the jump from not being in school for a long time to being in school, it's too much. It's sort of, like you see people, like some people can just run into the water and dive in. Those are usually young people. If you're a little bit older, you see people go into the water, they take some water, they wet behind their knees, they behind their back, under their arm, and then they go in. And so this is a little bit that. And, I said that I don't think the classes are as demanding as most college classes.
Yeah.
College classes, we'll read excerpts from a book because for some of the people it'd be too long to read a whole thing. But I can tell you, even for the people who have degrees, it's as much challenge as they can handle at the time they take it, because it's a big adjustment to get used to being a student when you have a job, when you have a spouse, when you have kids, when you have community obligations, when you have all kinds of things going on. It takes a while. So frequently what will happen is the beginning of the semester, people aren't ready for it and they'll get a little shock. They'll have degrees and they'll wind up getting like a 65 on a test, and it'll be a little shock to the system that, oh, you have to study for a test. Oh, I forgot, when you take classes and you have tests, you have to study. You can't just show up. And so that's a thing that goes on. So we have some people in the class who are paraprofessionals. They have and had degrees from other countries.
Yes.
And I've been working with young kids, and my brain's kind of turned to mush. I haven't really done challenging work, and this helps people get back up to speed. We have, we try to do interesting things. My philosophy is I don't know who's going to take the classes, what exactly is going to interest people. So I always try to take something that for sure in the reading writing classes that interests me, that I think might interest people, and that covers a broad spectrum of reading. And
Okay. Sorry, hold that thought. Ms. Celeste Chase, you have a question for Mr. Marcus? Ms. Chase?
Yeah, sure. Just kind of quick background question. So can you just speak to the size of the program, the success presumably measured, and how people are actually admitted to college, and also how the program is advertised? Because it sounds quite interesting, but I've never heard of it, and I'm sure that
So-
probably is the case for most people.
Yeah, so even when it was the Murphy Institute, people still part of CUNY, it was an institute, and people, and the Murphy Institute had a series of public programs that the community is invited to, but most people in CUNY didn't know of the Murphy Institute. So that's one of those things. So about the success, but first the size. We have classes, the biggest classes we've had have been maybe 25 people. We usually don't wind up with that many. A lot of people come and then they realize, oh my goodness, it's a class. Oh my goodness, there are assignments. It's more than I expected. Or someone was taking a full load in college and wanted to take one of these classes and realized it's just too much. So we'll have fewer. We try to have at least 15. This past semester, we had like 14 in the reading writing class. We didn't run a day class this semester. We usually run a day class because there weren't enough people. And we had 10 in the math class and then 8. The past few semesters, everyone or all but one person have passed the math class. I'm very proud to say that includes people who come to it having hated math, having been terrible in math. So we're able to say, forget however it was, start now. If you were good, you'll have forgotten it unless you use it. And you can keep the idea that you were good, you can be good again. If you weren't good at it, forget that. That was then, this is now, and do what we're doing now. And I emphasize it's very passable, but nobody passes without working. And so as long as your brain's working, you have a good shot at passing the math class. The reading, writing is something else, because it's so much more. The math class is a defined subject. We know it's like a box. We know this is this much material. For instance, when we work with radicals, we're working with square roots. We don't work with cube roots or fourth roots. When CUNY was doing the testing, they didn't test that. So that exists in algebra, but we're not covering it. So we know it's a defined area that you have to know. Reading and writing is everything, and every kind of reading is different. And we get people at all kinds of levels. We are getting people who are going to college, but it depends. Sometimes people take it again. Even people who have degrees, they want to take it again because they want to improve. So that's hard to measure. It really depends on where you start. What I can say is if you take the class and you really do the work, and doing the work means, okay, we meet twice a week for 2 hours. You have to put in 4 to 6 hours. That doesn't sound like a lot, but when you think 4 hours and 6, that's 10 hours a week. I don't know. I mean, I started working on another language and I thought I was doing a lot. I was spending 15 minutes a few times a week on the language. 10 hours would be more than an hour a day. That's a lot of work. If you do that, you're going to see real improvement. Will it be enough to get you ready? That depends on where you're starting. But I will say this, the people who are able to pass the class with a 70 or better, generally they're prepared to take a class and do well in that class, even though the class will be harder, because they understand what's required now. And how do we reach out? If it's a lot of it becomes word of mouth. If I have a Russian woman from Brighton Beach, the next semester I'll get a bunch of Russian women from Brighton Beach. If I have a Bangladeshi taxi cab driver, the next semester there'll be a bunch of Bangladeshi taxi drivers. But we do reach out to the consortium partners. The consortium has a lot of partners, so we reach out to them. And for the first time, we've decided to go modern and start to do some internet advertising. But if people search for CUNY college classes, they would come upon our website. It's funny, Ms. Chase, I used to say when people, I always ask people, how'd you find out about these classes? And if someone told me they found it on the internet, I knew the person was going to succeed because it wasn't easy to find. Now it's a little bit easier to find. So the school, now that it's become, the school has a bigger presence online, and this program has a web page online, so it's possible to find. And we've just started for the first time for the next semester, advertising through Google.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mr. Marcus. I really appreciate you for coming. Great presentation. Great, great, great. Tell people about us too. And if you have any more questions for Mr. Marcus, Khalil, could you tell me, I'm sorry, can you just get his information and we can drop it because we don't have a chat system. So can we just get his information?
Yes, I can reach out to Dante. I think that's who he was in communication with.
Yeah, so I'll send that the questions that I was reading off of that I prepared. I'll send that and my contact information in case anyone has a question for me.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. No, thank you. Thank you for your time. Thank you.
My pleasure. Thank you. Good night.
All right. Good night.
Good night.
Okay. Am I on?
Yeah, we can hear you, Naomi.
Am I on? Okay. Hello, everyone. Hello?
Hello.
Hi.
Yeah. Hi. I want to because my internet is not really doing too well, so that's why I'm just making sure that you can hear me properly. How's everyone tonight?
Good, thanks, Naomi.
Great. Did everybody get their agendas? Who's on the line?
Yes, I do
Yes,
have to
we-
say, I have to hop off in about 5 minutes.
Well, you can hop off, and I mean I can get your information from Dante and just keep you posted if that's okay.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Hey, Celeste.
I finished the 2 homework.
Okay, take a break.
Okay.
Hello.
Yes, Naomi.
Oh, okay. I didn't know. On my screen was Miss Fury's face, and I heard your voice. So I just, excuse me. My internet is dragging. So I guess it's only me and you at the rodeo, right?
It's 3 of us, me, and Maureen and you. And of course,
Okay. Well, yeah, Maureen is gonna hop off in 5 minutes, so
Right.
that's why I said it's just me and you.
True.
So I wanted to, thank you, because we don't have quorum, we only can have conversation. We had a lot of people and I don't know what happened. I just wanted to go over, you have the agenda in front of you, Ms. Celeste?
Actually, no, because I am on my iPad and I'm trying to be on the screen at the same time. So no, I don't have the internet open in front of me.
No, I have it in front of me, so no worries. I just wanted to make sure if you had it, we can go over it together. The second part of the agenda, first of all, what do you think about the presenter?
I didn't get to the last part of your sentence or question.
What do you think about the presenter tonight?
Oh, I thought it was a really interesting presentation and a program that I'd never heard about. So I thought it was good. The only question I have is how do people learn about it? So beyond this committee meeting is useful to the community.
Oh, well, we can, what I can do is I can go back and ask that question to, when I get his information, I can ask that question and then maybe see how we can bring it up to the committee, to the general board committee. If that's what you, is that what you're saying?
I think maybe it's the starting point in the blast emails that Dante sends out on Fridays. It may be helpful to have some mention of it there. It's a small program, but it sounds like it could be helpful for people who are really trying to find their way either into or back to college.
Well, I have the flyer myself. Dante gave it to me because he's the one that gave me the, he was the one that asked me, did I want him to present to our meeting? And I said, yes. So I have the flyer and I can I just wanted y'all to know what I was doing before I jumped the gun. I haven't had quorum in 3 meetings. So we do all the good stuff that's happening, I can't share. And if we want more stuff, how do I know what to bring to the committee if no one shows up? So, So as I continue, on the agenda is the literacy program. I have been doing a lot of work. So we have a demographic, we have a timeline and an engagement with some principals, parent coordinators, and PTA presidents. We also, we're also thinking about social media, Instagram, Facebook, and hopefully if we get quorum, we can compile a contact list for community partners and to develop some promotional flyers for this reading program that I'm working on as a committee, but my committee members don't show up. So I just wanted to share that.
Yeah, that's pretty difficult. I know for me, I guess I was out of the country in October, but we didn't have a meeting in November, I believe. So I think this is that right? Okay, yeah.
That's frustrating, Naomi.
No,
Sorry about that.
No, it's about there's a literacy program that is being packaged very nicely to come from the committee, and I would love to present it, but
So when is our next scheduled meeting? Because you're right, Naomi. Obviously we need a quorum and the committee to actually be here to really learn of the program and to act on the program, and, to move it forward with you. So when is the next meeting scheduled?
Yeah. It's gonna be in January. We had a meeting in November. We had a meeting in October. So I don't know, December, I don't have it on hand, but it goes with the email blast that we just discussed. It's on there too, it's the top. So it comes with the calendar. I don't know if this is, all I can do is say that it's being packaged very nicely. We have a date, we have where we can open up some economic opportunities for parents. We also have, it's a lot of things that I've been working on, but like I said, I cannot discuss it because I can't present it because we don't have quorum. So basically this is just a conversation. I really don't know what to tell you because we got some libraries on board, we got some schools on board, we have some money on board, but I cannot share it.
Well, I guess, Naomi, is it that you can't share it, or is it because of the quorum issue, or is the quorum issue just really with respect to voting or making assignments? So I'm a little bit confused about whether or not you can share the information.
No, I'm
at
not.
this point.
No, this is it's supposed to be a committee. This is something that we're presenting. And it doesn't make sense to, in clarity and transcription and being crystal clear, is that it doesn't make sense to give you some information and Maureen information, and then we can't vote on it. We can't really disagree with it. We can't do the things we need to do because it's not fair to the team. That's what the committee is for. So if we have this committee and you don't have
Okay.
quorum, the bylaw states that this is just a conversation. So I'm conversing with you what I'm doing, but the thing is that I'm just saying that I need some input and some output, but I can't give it all my input. It's not just me.
Right, so I guess you're saying that we need to defer everything until we have a quorum at our next meeting. Is that a fair assessment?
If that's how you want to word it, that is correct.
Okay.
That is correct. I'm representing, because as the chair, I'm representing as a committee. So we talked about we wanted to help the libraries. I already spoke to 3 libraries already within the last 3 months that want to work with us, but I don't want to be, John Wayne. So I'm just doing it to be fair, concise, and complete on what we're doing here. It's not for me, it's for the community.
Right, so I'm not exactly sure what you're proposing for us to do tonight, if anything.
No, I'm not proposing anything. That's the thing. If you want to ask me some questions, if we want to talk about the presenter, but this is just a conversation. I'm not proposing anything. If there's any more questions, we can discuss that. If you want to discuss something on the agenda, I'll give you a little bit. But other than that, I'm not proposing anything because it's only you and myself. Maureen said she had to jump off. So I'm not
Okay.
going to waste your time and my time.
All right, so
So
maybe
if you want some questions, let me know.
I don't have any questions. I don't think it'll be useful at this point, Naomi. What I do think is that if there's a way that in discussion with Fred, we can reach out to the committee members to make sure we have a quorum and sufficient number of people to do business, because you're right, it's not fair to you, to those who are here, and the community as well, that the participation is not what it's supposed to be. So that is what I propose that we try to do, is to figure out how we can move forward with the requisite number of committee members. So other than that, I don't have any questions or comments that would be helpful tonight.
Is there anybody else on the line?
Mm,
The 3 of us.
mhm.
Still here?
I'm hopping off. I didn't want to interrupt anybody, but I am gonna hop off.
We're all hopping off at the same time. So everybody have a wonderful night. Happy
Okay.
holidays to you. And I'll see you in the new year. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. You
Thank you.
too.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Take care until January.
Take care, everyone. Have a good night.
What time is it?